The text message arrived at 4:47 p.m. on a Thursday, just as Elaine Baker was pulling a lemon cake from the oven, Joseph's favorite, the recipe handed down from her mother, the one she'd been making for Sunday dinners since her son was 12 years old. "Mom, skip Sunday dinner. Victoria needs space." Elaine set the cake pan on the cooling rack with unsteady hands and read the message again. "No, I'm sorry. No explanation. Just 10 words that felt like a door slamming in her face. She lowered herself into one of the kitchen chairs, the same oak set she and Robert had bought 39 years ago when they'd first moved into this house. Her fingers hovered over the phone screen, typing and deleting responses. "Is everything okay? Did I do something wrong? Can we talk about this?" Finally, she just called. The phone rang 4 times. Joseph's voice, when he answered, sounded thin, strained. "Hey, Mom. Honey, I just got your text. What's going on?" A pause. In the background, Elaine heard a door close. Joseph's voice dropped lower. "It's not a big deal. Victoria she's dealing with a lot right now. She needs some family time. Just us." "I am family. I know, Mom, I know. It's just, look, can we not do this right now? I'm at work." "When can we do it? Because I made your cake. I bought ingredients for pot roast. I'm sorry about the cake." His tone had shifted from apologetic to impatient. "We'll do dinner another time, okay? I have to go." The line went dead. Elaine sat in her kitchen as the afternoon light slanted through the window above the sink, casting long shadows across the yellow wallpaper she and Robert had hung together in 1989. The lemon cake cooled on the counter, filling the house with its sweet scent, a smell that now made her feel slightly sick. She thought back to the last family dinner, 3 weeks ago. Victoria had arrived late, dressed in clothes that looked expensive, a cream silk blouse, designer jeans, heels that clicked against Elaine's hardwood floors like little accusations. She'd spent most of the evening on her phone while Joseph made excuses about a big client project. Before they left, Victoria had wandered through the house with her wine glass, pausing in the doorway of each room. "This place is so big for one person," she'd said, her voice honey-sweet with concern. 4 bedrooms, that huge yard. Don't you ever feel like you're just rattling around in here?" "I like the space," Elaine had replied. "Robert and I raised Joseph here. There are memories in every room." Victoria had smiled, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Memories are lovely, but they don't keep you warm at night, do they?" At the time, Elaine had brushed it off as awkward small talk. Now, holding her phone with its brutal message, she wondered if she'd missed something. She opened her banking app, something she'd been avoiding for weeks because looking at the numbers made her anxious. Her checking account balance, $3,847. 3 months ago, it had been over $12,000. The transfers stared back at her in neat rows. $1,500 to Joseph Baker, mortgage help. $1,500 to Joseph Baker, mortgage help. $1,500 to Joseph Baker, mortgage help. Her hands were shaking now. She scrolled back further. 6 months, 9 months, 12. When had this started? Elaine didn't sleep that night. Instead, she sat at Robert's old desk, the one he'd used for 30 years as an insurance adjuster, with its scarred oak surface and the drawer that always stuck, and created a spreadsheet on her laptop. The title at the top, "Money Given to Joseph and Victoria." It took her until 2 a.m. to reconstruct 18 months of transactions. Every Venmo payment, every check, every emergency wire transfer. She worked methodically, pulling up bank statements, credit card bills, and the apologetic text messages that always preceded another request. When she finally typed the sum at the bottom, her stomach lurched. $66,000 in 18 months. She stared at the number until it blurred. That was more than half of what Robert's life insurance policy had paid out. That was the money she'd planned to live on for the next 20 years, supplementing her modest teacher's pension. The spreadsheet revealed a pattern she hadn't wanted to see. January, 18 months ago. Been $1,500. "Mom, we're really struggling with the mortgage this month. Just temporary until my bonus comes through." February, 1,500. Bonus got delayed. Just one more month? March, 3,200. Victoria's car needs emergency repairs. Transmission is shot. Can't get to work without it. April, 1,500 plus $4,000. Mortgage help plus property taxes due or we lose the house. May, 2,500 plus 20,000. Mortgage help plus Victoria's jewelry business startup costs. This is our chance to really build something, Mom. She's so talented. The list went on and on. Elaine pulled up her email, searching for Joseph and Victoria. She found the messages she'd somehow forgotten or chosen not to see clearly. Mom, you're a lifesaver. We'd be homeless without you. Just got a big contract. We'll pay you back everything by Christmas. Victoria's mother would help, but they're having their own financial issues. You're the only one we can count on. Christmas had come and gone. No repayment. No mention of repayment. At 6 a.m., exhausted and wired on coffee, Elaine did something she'd been resisting. She looked at Joseph's social media. His Facebook page was sparse. He'd never been much for posting. But Victoria's Instagram was a different story. The first photo, Victoria and Joseph at a beachside restaurant, sunset glowing behind them. Caption, living our best life. Hashtag, blessed a luxury lifestyle. Elaine clicked on the location tag. Cabo San Lucas, 2 weeks ago. She scrolled down. More photos. Victoria in designer workout clothes at an upscale gym. Joseph standing next to a Tesla with the caption, New ride, dreams do come true. A photo of their dining room table set with expensive-looking place settings. Hosting friends tonight at our humble abode. The humble abode in the background looked nothing like humble. Elaine could see granite countertops, a wine fridge, and what looked like a very expensive light fixture. She clicked back to the Tesla photo. The date, 6 weeks ago, right around the time Joseph had asked for $2,400 for business cash flow issues. Her chest felt tight. She got up, poured another cup of coffee with shaking hands, and went back to the computer. She opened Google Maps and typed in Joseph's address. Street view loaded. The house sat in an upscale neighborhood with manicured lawns and 2-car garages. She zoomed in. In the driveway, a Tesla and a BMW. Not one new car. 2. The spreadsheet still glowed on her screen. $66,000. We're really struggling, Joseph had said. We'd be homeless without you. Elaine thought about her own Honda Civic, 15 years old with a dent in the rear bumper from when she'd backed into a post at the grocery store. She thought about how she'd started buying store-brand groceries to stretch her budget. How she'd put off getting her tooth fixed because the crown would cost $2,200. While her son drove a Tesla. The sun was coming up. Friday morning. She needed to do something, but her mind felt sluggish, disbelieving. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe the cars were leased through Joseph's business. Maybe the Cabo trip had been a gift from Victoria's family. Maybe her phone buzzed. Joseph, hey Mom, listen, we need to talk about something. Can I call you later? Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then she typed. Sure, what time? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, I'll try to call this afternoon. Kind of urgent. Urgent. That word again. The word that always preceded a request for money. Elaine looked at her spreadsheet, at the photos of her son's expensive life, at the text message from yesterday telling her she wasn't welcome at Sunday dinner. Something cold settled in her chest, not quite anger yet, but something harder than the soft maternal concern she'd been carrying. Something that felt almost like clarity. Joseph called at 3:47 p.m., right when Elaine was in the middle of her afternoon walk through the neighborhood, a habit she'd developed after Robert died, a way to fill the long, quiet hours. She let it ring twice before answering, trying to steady her breathing. Hi, honey. Hey, Mom. He sounded rushed, distracted. Listen, I've got like 5 minutes between meetings, but I wanted to catch you. We've got a situation. Here it comes, Elaine thought. She stopped walking, standing on the sidewalk in front of the Petersons' house with its neat flower beds and American flag. Property tax bill came in. It's due Monday. And if we don't pay it, they can start the foreclosure process. It's $4,000. I know it's a lot, but Mom, we could lose the house. Elaine closed her eyes, counted to 3. That's terrible, honey. Can you send me a copy of the bill? Silence. Then, what? The tax bill. Can you email it to me? I just want to see it before I transfer that much money. It's at the office. I'm looking at it now, but I don't have my phone set up to scan things. My scanner's been acting up. You could take a photo with your phone. Mom, I'm on my phone with you. After we hang up. Another pause, longer this time. Why do you need to see it? The question caught her off guard. I'd like to know what I'm paying for. That seems reasonable. Jesus, Mom, I'm not trying to scam you. This is serious. They've already sent us 2 notices. Then there's no harm in sending me the bill, right? Email it to me this afternoon and I'll transfer the money first thing Monday morning. The payment's due Monday. If we wait until Monday morning, we might miss the deadline. Joseph, banks don't process payments on weekends anyway. Monday morning is the same as Friday afternoon. She could hear him breathing. Then, fine, okay. I'll scan it when I get home tonight and send it to you. Thank you, honey. I've got to go. Another meeting. He hung up without saying goodbye. Elaine stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, then continued her walk. When she got home, she made herself a cup of tea and sat down at her computer. She opened a browser and typed, Dallas County Property Tax Records. It took her 20 minutes to figure out the website's navigation. She wasn't used to these kinds of searches. But eventually she found it. Joseph and Victoria's address, the property tax record. Status, paid in full, date. Paid, February 14th, 2024. Amount $4,247. The tax bill was already paid. 3 months ago. Elaine's hands went cold. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't confusion or poor communication. This was a lie. A specific, deliberate, provable lie. She took a screenshot, saved it to a folder on her desktop labeled Joseph Financial. Then she sat very still, staring at her wedding photo on the mantel. Her and Robert, 43 years ago, both so young and certain that love was simple and family was forever. What do I do? She whispered to the empty room, to Robert's memory, to no one. Her phone was in her hand before she'd consciously decided. She scrolled through her contacts to Patricia Wells, her neighbor 3 houses down, a retired nurse with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. Patricia, it's Elaine. Do you have a few minutes? I need some advice. 30 minutes later, Elaine sat in Patricia's cheerful yellow kitchen, a mug of chamomile tea cooling in front of her, the spreadsheet printed out and spread across the table. Patricia read through it twice, her reading glasses perched on her nose. She was 62, practical and unsentimental, the kind of woman who'd raised 3 children and managed a hospital floor for 20 years. She didn't speak until she'd finished reading every line. How long have you known? Patricia asked finally. I put it together last night. The full picture, I mean. And the property tax lie? This afternoon. Patricia set down the papers and looked at Elaine directly. You know what this is, don't you? My son needing help. No. Patricia's voice was gentle but firm. This is financial exploitation. This is your son and his wife systematically taking advantage of you. The words hung in the air. Elaine felt tears prick her eyes. He's my son. I know. And that's why this works. That's why they've been able to take $66,000 from you. Patricia reached across the table and squeezed Elaine's hand. Elaine, I've been watching this for months. The way Victoria looks at your house. The way Joseph always has some emergency right when you might have a little money saved up. I didn't want to say anything because, well, who wants to hear that about their own child? Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe there's an explanation. He lied to you about property taxes. That's not a misunderstanding. That's fraud. The word made Elaine flinch. Patricia pulled the papers closer. Here's what I think is happening. This isn't about money for necessities. Look at the pattern. It started small, won the $1,500 a month for mortgage help. That got you used to giving. Then it escalated. Bigger amounts, bigger emergencies. And now they're living a lifestyle they can't afford, funded by you. What do? You cut them off. Today. Right now. I can't just... Yes, you can. Cancel any automatic transfers. Cancel any credit cards he has access to. Move your money somewhere he doesn't know about. Patricia's eyes were serious. Elaine, this isn't about being mean or punishing him. This is about protecting yourself. Because if they've taken $66,000 by asking, what happens when asking stops working? Monday morning, Elaine did exactly what Patricia had advised. She drove to her bank, the same credit union she and Robert had used for 40 years, and met with a manager named Stephen Morris, a pleasant man in his 50s who'd helped her with Robert's estate after he died. I need to make some changes to my accounts, she said. By noon, she had canceled the automatic $1,500 monthly transfer to Joseph, moved $35,000 from her main savings account to a new account at a different bank, canceled the credit card Joseph had for emergencies. She'd checked the statement. $847 at Neiman Marcus, $200 at Del Frisco's Steakhouse, $456 at a wine shop. Changed her online banking password. Stephen had asked if everything was all right. She'd smiled and said she was just reorganizing her finances. He'd accepted the explanation without question. The calls started at 2:17 p.m. Joseph called 4 times in 30 minutes. Elaine was in her garden, pulling weeds from around the rose bushes Robert had planted, and she let each call go to voicemail. She could see her phone screen lighting up on the patio table, could imagine Joseph's growing panic. At 3:00 p.m., a text from Victoria. Elaine, there seems to be a problem with the bank transfer. Very urgent. Please call. At 3:30 p.m., Joseph's voicemail. Mom, I don't know what happened, but the money didn't come through. The mortgage payment is due. Can you call me back, please? At 4:00 p.m., another voicemail, his voice higher, strained. Mom, please call back. I don't understand what's going on. Did you cancel the transfer? We're going to get a late fee. This is really serious. Elaine pulled another weed, dropped it in her garden bucket, and went inside to wash her hands. Tuesday evening, he showed up. Elaine was making dinner, just a simple chicken breast and salad for one, when she heard a car in the driveway. Through the kitchen window, she saw Joseph's Tesla. He sat in the driver's seat for almost a full minute before getting out. He looked terrible. His shirt was wrinkled, his tie loosened, dark circles under his eyes. He climbed the porch steps slowly, like a man approaching something unpleasant. Elaine opened the door before he could knock. Hi, honey. Mom? His voice cracked slightly. Can I come in? She stepped aside. Through the window, she could see Victoria in the passenger seat of the Tesla, phone pressed to her ear, not even glancing toward the house. Joseph followed her into the living room, but didn't sit. He stood by the fireplace, his hands shoved in his pockets, looking everywhere except at her face. What happened with the transfer? I canceled it. The words seemed to hit him physically. You what? Why? Sit down, Joseph. Mom, we're counting on that money. The mortgage. Sit. Down. He sat, perched on the edge of Robert's old recliner, the chair he used to curl up in as a boy, reading comic books while his father watched baseball. Elaine sat across from him, her hands folded in her lap, and realized she felt calm, almost unnaturally calm. I did some math, she said. In the last 18 months, I've given you $66,000. Joseph's face went pale. I didn't realize it was that much. We've been meaning to pay you back. Based on lies? What? Elaine pulled out her phone, called up the screenshot of the property tax record, and held it out to him. You called me Friday. You said you needed $4,000 for property taxes due Monday or you'd lose the house. He stared at the screen. Your property taxes were paid in February, Joseph. 3 months ago. You lied to me. There must be some mistake. I was looking at an old bill. I must have gotten confused. Who told you to spy on us? The anger in his voice was sudden, sharp. I didn't spy. I looked up public records. which took me 10 minutes. Elaine set her phone down. Joseph, I want you to tell me the truth, right now. How much do you actually need my money? He opened his mouth, closed it. His hands were trembling. Your mortgage is $900 a month. I checked that too. I've been sending you $1,500. Where does the extra $600 go? Silence. The car repair that cost $3,200, that was for Victoria's BMW, right? The one I saw in your driveway? Or was it for your Tesla? Mom, listen. The $20,000 for Victoria's jewelry business. Where is that business, Joseph? What's the name of it? Do you have a business license I could see? His face crumpled. Mom, please. Do you need my money or do you just want it? It's not that simple. Then explain it to me, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been lying to me for over a year to fund a lifestyle you can't afford. Joseph stood up abruptly. You don't understand the pressure. Victoria's friends, her family, they have money. Real money. We can't just... He stopped himself, seeming to realize what he was saying. Can't just what? Live within your means? Victoria expects certain things. She comes from a different world, and I'm trying to give her the life she's used to. With my money, you have so much just sitting there. The words burst out of him. This house, your retirement accounts, the life insurance from Dad. You're living alone in a 4-bedroom house, Mom. You don't need all this space, all these resources, just for yourself. Elaine felt something cold settle in her chest. So you think I should give it to you? Not give, just help us get established. You're older, you don't need... He stopped again, seeming to hear himself. Don't need what, Joseph? A home? Security? The money your father worked 40 years to save? He sank back into the chair, his head in his hands. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. Victoria just... She said you'd understand. She said family helps family. She said, Victoria said. Victoria thinks. Victoria expects. Elaine leaned forward. What do you think, Joseph? What do you want? I want my wife to be happy. I want to give her the life I promised her. By lying to your mother? He looked up at her finally, and she saw tears in his eyes. I didn't know how else to do it. Her family would have thought I wasn't good enough for her. I had to prove I could provide. So you decided to steal from me instead. I wasn't stealing. You gave it to me. Based on lies, Joseph. That's called fraud. He stood again, his jaw tight. Are you threatening me? Your own son? I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. Mom, please. We need that monthly transfer. The mortgage payment is due Friday. If we're late, it affects our credit. Your mortgage is $900. You have 2 expensive cars and just got back from Cabo. Don't tell me you can't make a $900 payment. His face flushed. Have you been stalking us online? Victoria's Instagram is public. This is insane. You're treating me like a criminal because I asked my mother for help. Elaine stood too, drawing herself up to her full 5'4". You didn't ask for help, Joseph. You lied to manipulate money out of me. And I'm done being manipulated. For a moment they stood there, mother and son, facing each other across a distance that suddenly felt like miles. I love you, Elaine said quietly. But I will not be your ATM anymore. If you need money, you need to figure out another way. Sell one of your cars. Cancel your country club membership. Live within your actual means. Joseph's face hardened. You're going to regret this. The words hung in the air like a threat. Are you threatening me? I'm just saying, Victoria's not going to just forget this. She's not going to let this go. Let what go exactly? The money that was never hers in the first place? He shook his head, moving toward the door. You don't understand what you're doing. This isn't just about money, Mom. This is about family, about loyalty, about... He stopped, his hand on the doorknob. I have to go. Joseph, but he was already gone, the door closing firmly behind him. Through the window, Elaine watched him get in the Tesla, watched him sit there for a moment, his hands on the steering wheel, his head bowed. Then Victoria said something, Elaine could see her mouth moving, sharp and animated, and Joseph started the car. They pulled away, leaving Elaine standing in her living room, her heart pounding, her hands shaking. She'd done it. She'd stood up to him. So why did she feel like she'd just started something she couldn't stop? Wednesday morning, Elaine woke at 6 a.m. after 3 hours of broken sleep. Every time she'd closed her eyes, she'd seen Joseph's face, the anger, the desperation, and underneath it all, something that looked almost like fear. Victoria's not going to let this go. She made coffee and sat at the kitchen table with her laptop. The folder labeled Joseph Financial stared back at her. Inside, the spreadsheet, the property tax screenshot, Victoria's Instagram photos, evidence of what exactly? Bad judgment, entitlement, or something worse? Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Coffee this morning? My place? 9 a.m.? Elaine replied, I'll be there. At Patricia's house, she found more than just coffee waiting. Patricia had invited 2 other people, Marcus Webb, a young man who lived 4 houses down. Elaine vaguely remembered he was in law school, and Carol Wright, who ran the neighborhood book club. I hope you don't mind, Patricia said, setting out mugs. But Marcus specializes in elder law, and Carol went through something similar with her own mother. Carol, a woman in her early 60s with steel gray hair and kind eyes, nodded. My aunt, actually. Her son-in-law convinced her to loan him money for 3 years. Took her for nearly $90,000 before we caught it. What happened? Elaine asked. We got a lawyer, got most of it back eventually. But the family... Carol's expression darkened. The family never really recovered. Marcus leaned forward, his notebook open. Mrs. Baker, Patricia filled me in on the basics. I'm not officially representing you. I'm still a student, but I can tell you what I know. May I ask some questions? For the next hour, Elaine walked them through everything. Marcus took notes, asking specific questions. Did he ever put anything in writing about paying you back? Were these loans or gifts in your mind? Did he ever threaten you directly? Last night, Elaine said. He said I'd regret this, that Victoria wouldn't forget. Marcus and Patricia exchanged a glance. That's important, Marcus said. Not quite a direct threat, but it establishes a pattern of intimidation. He flipped through his notes. Mrs. Baker, what you're describing is financial exploitation. In Texas, there are specific laws protecting seniors from this. You're 67, which means... I'm not that old, Elaine interrupted. Legally, you're a senior citizen, Marcus said gently. And that actually helps you. The penalties for exploiting seniors are severe, and there are organizations that can help. He wrote something down and tore off the page. This is Martin Breswick. He's an attorney who specializes in elder law and estate protection. He's handled cases like this before. Elaine took the paper. The name felt heavy in her hand. Calling a lawyer meant making this real, making this official, making it a legal matter instead of a family problem. I don't want to destroy my relationship with my son, she said quietly. Carol reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Honey, he's the one who damaged the relationship. You're just protecting yourself. After she left Patricia's house, Elaine sat in her car for 10 minutes, Martin Breswick's number in her hand. Then she dialed. His secretary scheduled her for Thursday morning. That afternoon, the harassment began in earnest. Joseph called 6 times. She didn't answer. Victoria left a voicemail, her voice dripping with concern. Elaine, hi, it's Victoria. Joseph is really upset and I'm worried about him. I know you two had some kind of disagreement about finances. I was hoping we could get coffee, just us girls, and talk this through. There must be some misunderstanding. Call me back? Elaine deleted the message. At 4 p.m., a knock on the door. Elaine looked through the peephole and saw Joseph standing on her porch. She watched him try the doorknob, locked, then knock again, harder. Mom, I know you're in there. Your car's in the driveway. Please, we need to talk. She stood on the other side of the door, her hand over her mouth, barely breathing. Joseph waited for 5 minutes, knocking intermittently, before finally leaving. Elaine immediately called Martin Breswick's office and left a message. "This is Elaine Baker. I have an appointment tomorrow, but I wanted you to know my son just came to my house uninvited. He tried my doorknob. I'm a little scared." The secretary called back within 20 minutes. "Mrs. Baker, Mr. Breswick says to document everything. Write down the time, what happened, any witnesses. Take photos if he comes back. And if you feel unsafe, call the police. Your safety comes first." That evening, Patricia organized what she called a support rotation. Tom and Sandra Reeves, the retired couple from down the street, would check on Elaine every evening. Carol would call every morning. Marcus gave her his cell number. Anytime, day or night, if you need legal advice or just feel unsafe. "Why are you all doing this?" Elaine asked, overwhelmed. "Because we're neighbors," Patricia said simply. "And because this happens more than people want to admit. Family members taking advantage, and the victim feels too ashamed to ask for help." "I do feel ashamed," Elaine admitted. "I'm a retired school teacher. I should have been smarter than this." "Intelligence has nothing to do with it," Carol said. "It's about trust. You trusted your son. That's not a weakness." Thursday morning, Martin Breswick's office occupied the 3rd floor of a renovated historic building downtown. His waiting room was decorated with understated elegance. Leather chairs, old law books, a painting of bluebonnets. Martin himself was in his late 50s, with gray temples and sharp brown eyes that missed nothing. He greeted Elaine with a firm handshake and ushered her into his office. "Tell me everything," he said, settling behind his desk. "Start from the beginning." Elaine talked for 45 minutes. Martin listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. When she finished, he leaned back in his chair. "Mrs. Baker, may I call you Elaine?" She nodded. "Elaine, what you've described is textbook financial exploitation. The escalating requests, the manufactured emergencies, the emotional manipulation, the veiled threats. I've seen this pattern many times, and I'm sorry to say it rarely stops on its own." "What do you mean?" "People who exploit family members for money typically escalate when the money stops flowing. They've built a lifestyle dependent on your funds, and they'll do whatever it takes to maintain access." He pulled out a form. "I'm going to recommend several things. First, we need to update all your legal documents: will, power of attorney, healthcare directives. Remove Joseph from any positions of authority." Elaine felt her chest tighten. "That seems so extreme." "It's protective. Right now, if something happened to you, Joseph is your next of kin. He'd have authority over your medical decisions and estate. Given his behavior, that's not safe," Martin continued. "Second, I want you to meet with a forensic accountant. Rebecca Torres. She's the best in Dallas. She can trace exactly where your money went and document the pattern of deception." "Why do I need that?" "Because knowledge is power. Right now, you know they lied. But a forensic accountant can prove it with documentation that holds up in court. It gives you leverage." "I don't want to take them to court." "You may not have to, but having that evidence often prevents escalation. It shows you're serious." Martin's expression softened. "Elaine, I understand this is your son. I'm not trying to turn you against him. I'm trying to protect you from further harm." By the time she left Martin's office, she had an appointment with Rebecca Torres for the following Tuesday, new legal documents in progress, instructions to change all her passwords, PINs, and security questions, a folder full of information about elder financial abuse, the retainer for Martin's services, $3,500, the forensic accountant, another $3,500, $7,000 to protect herself from her own son. The next 5 days passed in a strange limbo. Joseph called repeatedly. She didn't answer. Victoria sent a series of texts ranging from concerned to angry. "Elaine, this silent treatment is childish. Joseph is devastated. Is this really how you want to treat your only son?" "Fine. Don't respond. But you should know this is affecting Joseph's health. He's barely sleeping." Elaine documented everything, just as Martin had instructed. Tuesday afternoon, she sat in Rebecca Torres' sleek office in North Dallas. Rebecca was younger than Elaine expected, maybe 40, with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, and an intensity that reminded Elaine of the prosecutors she'd seen on TV dramas. "I'll need complete access to your bank accounts for the last 2 years," Rebecca said, typing on her laptop. "Also any emails, texts, or written communication with Joseph and Victoria regarding money. Everything you can give me." "How long will this take?" 2 weeks, maybe less. I'm very thorough." Rebecca looked up, her dark eyes serious. "Mrs. Baker, I need to warn you. What I find might be worse than you expect. People are very creative when it comes to justifying theft from family members. Are you prepared for that?" "I don't think I have a choice." "You do. You could choose not to know. Some people prefer that." Elaine thought about Joseph's face when he'd lied about the property taxes, about Victoria's Instagram photos of the life they were living on her dime, about the threat that still echoed in her mind. "You're going to regret this." "I need to know," she said firmly. The call came 12 days later. Elaine was in her garden, trimming back the roses, when her phone rang. Rebecca Torres. "Mrs. Baker, I've completed my analysis. Can you come to my office this afternoon? I'd prefer to go through this in person." The tone in Rebecca's voice made Elaine's stomach drop. 3 hours later, she sat across from Rebecca, a thick folder on the desk between them. "I'm going to be direct," Rebecca said. "Your son and daughter-in-law have been systematically exploiting you for 18 months. The deception is extensive and well documented." She opened the folder. Inside were spreadsheets, bank records, screenshots, everything laid out in damning detail. "Let's start with the mortgage help. You've been sending $1,500 a month for 18 months. That's $27,000 total. Their actual mortgage payment is $912. Where did the extra money go?" Rebecca pulled out a highlighted bank statement. "Most months, within days of your transfer, there's a payment to Brookhaven Country Club. $588 monthly. You've been paying for their country club membership." Elaine's hands went cold. "The car repair, $3,200. No repair was ever done. Victoria's BMW is leased through Joseph's business, Apex Engineering Solutions. The lease payments come from the business account, which means they're tax-deductible business expenses. Your money was spent?" She checked her notes. "Best I can trace, cash withdrawals over several weeks. No way to know what it was used for." "The jewelry business?" Rebecca's expression hardened. "There is no jewelry business. Victoria never registered a business license, never applied for a tax ID, nothing. That $20,000 was split 3 ways. $12,000 for a down payment on a vacation condo in Scottsdale, Arizona. $5,000 for credit card debt, luxury purchases including a handbag that cost $1,800, $3,000 in cash withdrawals." Elaine felt physically sick. "The business crisis, $12,000. Joseph's business was actually thriving that quarter. I pulled his business bank statements. Gross revenue, $343,000. The $12,000 you gave him was spent on a home theater installation. I found the invoice." Rebecca wasn't done. She pulled out more documents. "The medical bills, $4,500. I contacted their insurance company. All charges were covered under their plan. Out-of-pocket expense, $94. What did they do with the money?" "Cash withdrawals again. Impossible to trace." Elaine couldn't speak. Rebecca gave her a moment, then continued, her voice gentler now. "In total, you gave them $66,000. Based on my analysis, less than 30% was used for the stated purposes. The rest was spent on lifestyle expenses they couldn't otherwise afford." "They lied about everything." "Not everything, but most things, yes." Rebecca hesitated. "Mrs. Baker, there's something else. Something I wasn't sure whether to tell you." Elaine looked up. Rebecca's face was troubled. "As part of my investigation, I checked your home internet account. You mentioned Victoria and Joseph have a security system linked to your Wi-Fi for monitoring when they visit." "Yes, they set that up last year. Said it would make them feel safer knowing I had security, and they could check on me remotely. That system gave them admin access to your home network, which means I could see the browsing history for all devices connected to it." Rebecca pulled out another sheet. "These searches came from Victoria's laptop, dated about 3 months ago. She slid the paper across the desk. Elaine read, "How to get power of attorney from aging parent. Can adult children declare parent incompetent Texas guardianship laws? Elderly parents. How much does guardianship cost? Memory care facilities, Dallas. Early signs of dementia in elderly. How long does dementia diagnosis take?" The room seemed to tilt. "She was researching how to have me declared incompetent," Elaine whispered. "It appears that way, yes. This search history, combined with the financial exploitation, suggests they were planning something more extensive than just requesting money. They may have been building toward a guardianship petition." "What does that mean?" Rebecca's voice was grave. "If they could have you declared legally incompetent, they could petition for guardianship. That would give them control over your assets, your medical decisions, your living situation. They could sell your house, access your accounts, even place you in a facility against your will." Elaine couldn't breathe. Her own son, planning to lock her away, steal her home, take everything. "Can they do that? I'm not incompetent. I'm perfectly healthy." Legally, it's very difficult if the person is genuinely competent, but the process can be abused. They'd need a doctor to evaluate you, testify about cognitive decline. Some doctors are more amenable to family concerns than others, and the process itself, being evaluated, questioned, having your competence challenged in court, it's traumatic even if you win. Elaine felt tears streaming down her face. She didn't remember starting to cry. Rebecca stood, came around the desk, and handed her a box of tissues. "I'm sorry. I know this is devastating, but Elaine, may I call you Elaine? You need to know what you're dealing with. This isn't just about money anymore. This is about them potentially trying to take control of your entire life." Elaine left Rebecca's office in a daze. She sat in her car in the parking garage for 20 minutes, unable to turn the key. Her hands were shaking too badly. Finally, she called Patricia. "I need you," she said, and her voice broke. Patricia arrived at the parking garage 40 minutes later, having called Tom Reeves to drive her. She took one look at Elaine's face and climbed into the passenger seat. "Tell me." Elaine told her everything: the country club membership, the lies about the car and the medical bills, the vacation condo, and worst of all, the search history. "They want to have me declared incompetent," she whispered. "They want to lock me up and take everything." Patricia's face went hard. "Over my dead body." That evening, Patricia called an emergency meeting at Elaine's house. Carol Wright arrived with homemade soup. Marcus Webb brought his laptop and a stack of law books. Tom and Sandra Reeves came with their daughter, who was a social worker. "We're going to help you build a case," Marcus said, spreading papers across Elaine's dining room table. "Documentation that proves your competence, your sound judgment, your ability to manage your own affairs." Over the next 3 hours, they assembled. Character reference letters from neighbors. A letter from Elaine's doctor confirming her excellent health. Records showing Elaine's careful financial management over decades. A timeline of Joseph and Victoria's exploitation. Screenshots of Victoria's lavish Instagram posts. "This is ammunition," Marcus explained. "If they try anything, you have proof you're competent, and they're the problem, not you." 2 days later, the letter arrived. Elaine found it in her mailbox on a Friday afternoon. Official letterhead from the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, Adult Protective Services Division. "Dear Mrs. Baker, a concern has been reported regarding your welfare. We have opened an investigation, and an investigator will contact you within 5 business days to schedule a home visit." Her hands went numb. Someone had reported her to Adult Protective Services. She called Martin immediately. "This is good, actually," he said, which seemed insane to Elaine. "An APS investigation clears you. They'll interview you, assess your living situation, and document that you're fine. It creates an official record of your competence. But who reported me? I can't know for certain until we see the report, but given the timing, Elaine, I think it was Joseph." The APS letter included the case number. Marcus, using his law school resources, managed to pull up the complaint. Reporter, Joseph Baker, son. Concerns reported. Memory problems, confusion about recent events, paranoid behavior, accusing family members of lies, irrational financial decisions, isolation from family, refusing reasonable help and support. He filed a report claiming I'm the problem, Elaine said, staring at the document. He's trying to create a paper trail. It's a manipulation tactic, Martin explained over the phone. File a complaint first. Establish a narrative that you're declining. Then, when they eventually petition for guardianship, they can point to this report as evidence of ongoing concerns. But the investigation will clear me. Exactly, which means his strategy backfires. Instead of creating evidence of your incompetence, he's created evidence of false reporting. Elaine, your son just made a serious mistake. The APS investigator Carol Simmons arrived on Wednesday morning. She was a tired-looking woman in her 40s with a kind face and sharp eyes that took in every detail of Elaine's home. The interview lasted 2.5 hours. Carol asked hundreds of questions. What year is it? Who's the president? Can you tell me your address? How do you manage your bills? What medications do you take? Have you felt confused lately? Elaine answered everything clearly, calmly. She showed Carol her organized filing system, her bill-paying schedule, her calendar with doctor's appointments and social activities. Carol reviewed her bank statements, her medical records, her home. She spoke to Patricia, to Carol Wright, to Elaine's doctor. At the end, Carol closed her notebook and looked at Elaine directly. Mrs. Baker, I see absolutely no signs of cognitive impairment. Your home is well maintained, your finances are carefully managed, you're socially engaged and physically healthy. You are clearly capable of managing your own affairs. Elaine felt tears of relief. However, Carol continued, I need to tell you that making false reports to APS is a serious matter. We take these investigations very seriously, and we don't appreciate people using our services to pursue family disputes. She paused. Your son's complaint appears to be retaliatory. Every concern he listed has been proven false. What happens now? I close the case as unfounded, and I note in my report that the complaint appears to be motivated by financial conflict rather than genuine concern for your welfare. Carol's expression softened. Mrs. Baker, I'm not supposed to give advice, but be careful. When adult children file false reports, it's often a precursor to more aggressive action. Document everything. Stay connected with your support system. After Carol left, Elaine sat in her living room, her mind reeling. Joseph had tried to use the state against her. Her own son had filed a false report to create a paper trail of her incompetence. The phone rang. Joseph. For the first time in 2 weeks, she answered. Hello, Joseph. Mom! He sounded surprised she'd picked up. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. We need to talk. About your APS complaint? Silence. Long silence. How did you... I was concerned about you, Mom. You've been acting strange, not returning calls, cutting us off financially. I thought something might be wrong. The investigator found me perfectly competent. That's good. I'm glad. He didn't sound glad. But Mom, can we please talk? In person? This has gone on long enough. Elaine thought about the forensic report, the search history about guardianship, the false APS complaint. And she thought about Patricia's words. Document everything. All right, tomorrow at 2. Here. Victoria should come too. This affects both of us. Fine. She hung up and immediately called Patricia. They're coming tomorrow. I need you here. I'll be there, Patricia promised. And Elaine, turn on your security cameras. Record everything. Thursday at 1:45 p.m., Elaine's doorbell camera showed Joseph's Tesla pulling into the driveway. Both he and Victoria got out. Through the window, Elaine watched them pause by the car, Victoria speaking urgently, gesturing, while Joseph nodded. Patricia sat on the couch, a witness. Elaine had positioned her phone on the bookshelf, recording. The security camera covered the living room. Everything would be documented. She opened the door. Joseph looked worse than she'd ever seen him. Gaunt, exhausted. his suit hanging loose. Victoria, by contrast, looked immaculate in a cream designer dress, her blonde hair perfectly styled. "Hi, Mom," Joseph said, attempting a smile. "Come in." They settled in the living room, Joseph in Robert's old recliner, Victoria on the couch next to Patricia, whom she ignored completely. "Mom," Joseph began, "I think we got off on the wrong foot. Victoria and I have been talking, and we want to make things right." "How?" Victoria leaned forward, her voice warm, conciliatory. "Elaine, I want to start by apologizing. I think I came between you and Joseph, and that was never my intention. Family should come first." "Should it?" Elaine kept her voice neutral. "Of course." Victoria's smile was perfectly practiced. "Joseph has told me so much about your relationship, how close you were before I came along. I'd love for us to have that kind of bond, too. Is that why you researched how to have me declared incompetent?" The temperature in the room dropped. Victoria's smile froze. "I don't know what you're talking about." Elaine pulled out a printed copy of the search history. "These searches came from your laptop 3 months ago." Victoria barely glanced at it. "That's a violation of my privacy. It came from my internet account. I have full legal access to the activity logs." Joseph cut in, his voice rising. "Mom, you've been spying on us? Investigating us like criminals? You filed a false report with APS claiming I was incompetent. I was concerned. You were acting paranoid, cutting us off because you were lying to me. About everything." Elaine pulled out Rebecca's report and set it on the coffee table. "I hired a forensic accountant. I know about the country club membership I was paying for, the vacation condo, the fact that your mortgage is $900, not $1,500, the jewelry business that never existed, the medical bills that were already covered, all of it." Joseph's face went white. Victoria's composure cracked, just for a second, before she recovered. "This is ridiculous," Victoria said. "You're making it sound like we did something wrong. We needed help. You offered it based on lies. We never lied. We may have simplified some things, but you told me Joseph's property taxes were due or he'd lose the house. They were already paid." Joseph started to respond, but Victoria grabbed his arm. "Don't." "Don't what?" Elaine asked. "Don't tell the truth?" "Victoria's right," Joseph said, but his voice wavered. "We should go. You're clearly not in a state to have a rational conversation. I'm perfectly rational. Unlike you, Joseph, tell me, whose idea was all this? The lies about the mortgage? The fake emergencies? That's not fair. Whose idea was it to search for guardianship laws?" Victoria stood abruptly. "We're leaving. You're being hostile and unreasonable." "Whose idea, Joseph?" Elaine pressed. "It wasn't like that." The words burst out of him. "You don't understand the pressure. Victoria's family, they have money, real money. Her friends all married men who are successful, who can provide. I had to show them I could give her the life she deserves." "Joseph, stop talking," Victoria hissed, but something had broken in him. "You wanted the country club, Victoria. You wanted the vacations and the nice cars and the big house. You said we deserved it, that Mom had more than enough." "I said stop!" The silence that followed was deafening. Elaine looked at her son, really looked at him, and saw someone she barely recognized. When had he become this weak, this willing to hurt his own mother to please his wife? "Joseph," she said quietly, "did Victoria tell you to lie to me?" He wouldn't meet her eyes. "Did she tell you to research guardianship, to file the APS complaint?" "I wanted to help her," he whispered. "I wanted to be enough for her." "So you chose her over me?" "You're my mother. You're supposed to help me. Family helps family." "Not through fraud, Joseph, not through lies and manipulation." Victoria found her voice again, and it was ice cold. "This is unbelievable. We're being accused of what exactly? Asking for help? Accepting money that was freely given? Elaine, you're blowing this completely out of proportion." "Am I?" Elaine stood. "You researched how to take away my autonomy, how to control my life, how to lock me away. That's a complete misinterpretation. Then what were you researching? Future planning. We were concerned about what might happen as you get older. I'm 67 and healthy. But you won't be forever. Someone needs to think ahead, to make plans. Plans that involve taking my house and my money while I'm still alive? Victoria's mask finally shattered. You know what? Fine. Yes. We looked into it. Because you're sitting on $500,000 in home equity and retirement funds, just wasting them, living alone in this huge house like some kind of hoarder. The room went silent. Even Victoria seemed shocked by her own words. That's what this is really about, Elaine said softly. You think I'm wasting resources you believe should be yours. You'll be dead in 10, 15 years anyway. Victoria's voice was shrill now, all pretense gone. Why should Joseph and I struggle and sacrifice, building our lives, waiting for you to die, when you're just sitting here doing nothing with all this wealth? Joseph grabbed Victoria's arm. Victoria, stop, she jerked away from him. No, I'm tired of pretending. Your mother is selfish, Joseph. She could help us now when we need it, when we could actually build something, but instead she's clutching her precious money like, get out of my house. Elaine's voice cut through Victoria's tirade. Both of you, now. Gladly, Victoria spat. But Elaine, you think you've won something here? You've just destroyed your relationship with your only son. And for what? Money you can't even take with you? She stormed toward the door, then turned back. We have documentation too, you know. Witnesses who'll testify about your confusion, your paranoid accusations. We have a psychiatrist willing to evaluate you. You want to play hardball? Fine, but you're going to lose. That's a threat. Patricia spoke for the first time, her voice steady. And it's on camera. Victoria's eyes widened as she noticed the security camera's red recording light. Her face went pale. Let's go, she said to Joseph, yanking the door open. Joseph hesitated, looking at his mother. For just a moment, Elaine saw something in his face. Regret? Shame? Fear? Mom, Go, Joseph. He went. Through the window, Elaine watched them argue by the car. Victoria's mouth moved rapidly, her face furious. Joseph's shoulders slumped, defeated. Then they drove away. Elaine collapsed into a chair, her whole body shaking. You did it, Patricia said gently. You stood up to them, and we got everything on camera. She threatened me. They both threatened me. I know, and now we have proof. Patricia pulled out her phone. I'm calling Martin. This changes things. As Patricia spoke to the attorney, Elaine stared at the space where her son had stood just moments before. The son she'd raised, loved, sacrificed for. The son who'd just stood by while his wife threatened to have her institutionalized. When had she lost him? Or had she ever really known him at all? Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This isn't over. You'll regret turning on your family. Victoria. Elaine showed the text to Patricia, who immediately forwarded it to Martin. Document everything, Patricia repeated Martin's earlier advice. Every threat, every contact, everything. I'm scared, Elaine admitted. What if they really try to have me declared incompetent? What if they find a doctor who'll say, they won't, Patricia said firmly. You have an APS report clearing you. You have character witnesses. You have proof they're motivated by greed, not concern. Elaine, they showed their hand today. They revealed who they really are. I know, Elaine whispered. That's what scares me. Martin's letter arrived at Joseph and Victoria's house on Monday morning, delivered by certified mail. Your presence is required at a mediation hearing on Friday, June 14th, 2024, at 10:00 a.m. Alternative, Mrs. Baker will file a civil suit for elder financial abuse and fraud, and all documentation will be forwarded to the Dallas County District Attorney's Office for review of criminal charges. Wednesday afternoon, Martin received a call from an attorney named Vanessa Cole. My clients are willing to mediate, she said, her tone professional but tight. They maintain that Mrs. Baker has misunderstood the situation, but they're willing to discuss resolution. We have forensic accounting, recorded threats, and documented search history, Martin replied calmly. Discovery in a civil case will be extensive. I'd encourage your clients to come prepared for frank conversation. Friday morning, Elaine arrived at Martin's conference room with Patricia at her side. Her hands were steady now. She'd spent 3 days preparing herself emotionally, and she knew exactly what she needed from this meeting. Joseph and Victoria were already there with their attorney. Joseph looked like he'd aged 10 years, his face drawn, shadows under his eyes. Victoria sat rigidly beside him, her expression carefully neutral. The mediator, Robert Finn, a retired judge with 30 years' experience, laid out the ground rules. Everything said here is confidential unless we reach an impasse. The goal is resolution. Everyone will be heard respectfully. Martin presented first, distributing Rebecca Torres' forensic report. Page by page, he walked through 18 months of deception. $27,000 for mortgage help when the actual mortgage was $912 monthly. The excess funded a country club membership. Joseph's face flushed. Victoria stared at the table. $3,200 for car repairs that never happened. $20,000 for a jewelry business that was never registered. The money purchased a vacation condo and paid credit card debt for luxury items. Martin played the audio from Tuesday's confrontation. Victoria's voice filled the room. You'll be dead in 10, 15 years anyway. Why should we struggle when you're just sitting here doing nothing with all this wealth? Joseph closed his eyes. His attorney's expression went carefully blank. Then Martin presented the search history, the guardianship research, the memory care facility searches. This wasn't about helping family, Martin concluded. This was a systematic plan to gain control of Mrs. Baker's assets through deception, and when that failed, through legal coercion. Vanessa Cole attempted a defense. These were gifts freely given by a mother to her son. Obtained through fraudulent misrepresentation, Martin interrupted. We have recordings of specific lies, property taxes that were already paid, medical bills that were covered by insurance. Finally, he presented the APS complaint, Joseph's false report, alongside the investigation that completely cleared Elaine. Your client filed a false report with state authorities in an attempt to create a paper trail of incompetence, Martin said. That's abuse of the system and potentially criminal. The mediator called a recess. 20 minutes. Elaine could hear raised voices from the conference room where Joseph, Victoria, and Vanessa had retreated. Victoria's voice carried. This is your fault! If you'd kept your mouth shut! Joseph's response was muffled but anguished. When they returned, Vanessa's professional mask was firmly in place. My clients would like to propose a settlement. Before we hear that, Martin said, there's one more piece of evidence. He opened his laptop and turned it toward the mediator. Mrs. Baker's home security system has cloud storage, audio and video. This is from last Tuesday's confrontation. He played Victoria's threat. We have witnesses who'll testify about your confusion. We have a psychiatrist willing to evaluate you. You want to play hardball? You're going to lose. The mediator's expression darkened. Vanessa Cole closed her eyes briefly. That, Martin said quietly, is witness intimidation, threatening to abuse the guardianship system, on camera. Vanessa whispered urgently to her clients, then addressed the room. My clients propose the following settlement. Joseph and Victoria will cease all contact with Mrs. Baker for a period of 2 years. They make no claims on her estate. They agree to financial counseling. In exchange, Mrs. Baker files no civil suit and makes no criminal complaint. Martin looked at Elaine and looked at your decision. Elaine looked across the table at her son. Joseph's face was crumpled, tears streaming down his cheeks. Victoria stared straight ahead, her jaw clenched. Joseph, Elaine said softly, look at me. He raised his head. Do you understand what you did? Yes, his voice cracked. God, yes. Mom, I'm so sorry. I was weak. I let myself believe we deserved it, that you'd understand, that it wasn't really wrong because you're family. He choked on the words. Do you see how she manipulated you? Joseph glanced at Victoria, who was staring at him with barely concealed fury. I wanted to give her everything. I thought if I could just provide enough, she'd—" He stopped. "I became someone Dad would be ashamed of." "Yes," Elaine agreed. "He would be." The truth hung between them, devastating and necessary. "I accept the settlement," Elaine said. "But Joseph, get help, real help, therapy. Address why you were willing to destroy your integrity for someone else's approval." The agreements were signed, notarized, made official. As they prepared to leave, Joseph paused at the door. "Mom, I know I don't deserve to ask, but after 2 years, do you think we could talk? Really talk?" "Maybe," Elaine said. "If you've done the work. If you've become someone different than who you are today." It wasn't forgiveness, but it wasn't complete rejection either. He nodded once and left. The consequences came swiftly. Within 2 weeks, word had spread through Joseph's professional network. Not from Elaine, she'd kept silent, but business associates talk and attorneys network, and the story was too explosive to contain. Michael Hartman, Joseph's business partner, called Elaine personally. "Mrs. Baker, I wanted you to know I've dissolved my partnership with Joseph. I can't be associated with someone who'd exploit his own mother. That's not the kind of ethical liability I can carry." 3 major clients withdrew their contracts. The country club, after learning the membership had been funded through financial exploitation of an elderly parent, quietly revoked Joseph and Victoria's membership. Joseph's business, Apex Engineering Solutions, folded within 4 months. The house, the one Elaine had helped them buy with a $30,000 down payment gift, went into foreclosure. Without Elaine's monthly supplements, and with Joseph's business collapsing, they couldn't maintain the payments they'd stretched themselves to afford. 2 months after the mediation, Patricia showed Elaine a for sale sign in front of Joseph's house. "They're moving to a rental apartment in East Dallas," Patricia reported. "The vacation condo in Arizona is also listed." Elaine felt no satisfaction, just a hollow sadness. The divorce papers were filed 3 months post-mediation. Victoria's complaint claimed Joseph had misrepresented his financial situation and career prospects during courtship and marriage. She wanted half of everything, including the minimal equity from the house sale. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. There was barely $15,000 left after the mortgage was paid. Victoria's attorney took half. She walked away with $7,500 and a ruined reputation. Her luxury lifestyle Instagram account had collapsed when her followers learned the truth. Sponsors dropped her. Her last known whereabouts, working as a receptionist at a dental office, sharing an apartment with 2 roommates. Joseph moved to a studio apartment in a working-class neighborhood, got a job at an electronics store. Sales associate, minimum wage plus commission. Nathan, Victoria's brother, reached out to Elaine once. "Mrs. Baker, our family is mortified. We had no idea Victoria was doing this. She told us Joseph was successful, that they were doing well financially. My parents want you to know they're appalled." "I appreciate that," Elaine said, and meant it. 8 months after the mediation, a letter arrived. Handwritten on cheap notebook paper, Joseph's familiar script. "Dear Mom, I'm writing from a studio apartment in East Dallas. I got a job at Tech World Electronics, sales associate, minimum wage plus commission. It's humbling work, but it's honest. Victoria left me. She said I was weak, that I let you manipulate me, that I should have fought harder for what was rightfully ours. I don't think she ever loved me. I think she loved what she thought I could provide. You were right about everything. I was weak. I let her convince me that asking for help was reasonable, that we deserved your support, that your reluctance was selfishness. I let her turn me into someone who could lie to his own mother, threaten her, try to have her declared incompetent. Dad would be ashamed. I'm ashamed. I started going to AA meetings. I didn't realize I'd been drinking so much until I couldn't afford it anymore. I'm also in therapy, working through why I was so desperate for Victoria's approval that I sacrificed my own integrity. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I deserve to write to you. But I wanted you to know that I understand now what I did. And I'm sorry. Your son, Joseph." Elaine held the letter for a long time, tears streaming down her face. Patricia found her at the kitchen table. "Are you okay?" "He lost everything," Elaine whispered. "His business, his wife, his home, his reputation. He brought it on himself." "I know, but he's still my son." "What will you do?" Elaine folded the letter carefully. "Nothing, not yet. He needs to rebuild himself without my money, without my help. He needs to become someone who can stand on his own." 2 months later, another letter. Shorter this time. "Mom, update 6 months sober, still in therapy, still working retail, but I was promoted to assistant manager last week. Paying off my debts slowly. I'm trying to become someone you could be proud of again. Not asking for anything. Just wanted you to know. Love," Joseph Elaine wrote back. 1 sentence. "I'm glad you're getting help. It wasn't much, but it was something." Elaine's 78th birthday arrived on a crisp October afternoon. She'd been dreading it, expecting to spend it alone, mourning the family that had fractured beyond repair. Instead, Patricia organized a surprise party. 30 people crowded into Elaine's dining room. Her book club, her watercolor painting class, volunteers from the Elder Justice Coalition, where she now worked twice a week. Tom and Sandra Reeves brought homemade tamales. Carol Wright baked a 3-layer cake. Marcus Webb, now graduated and practicing law, brought his fiancée. "Make a wish," Patricia said as Elaine stood before the candles. Elaine looked around at these people she'd grown close to over the past year, people who valued her for who she was rather than what she could provide. Her calendar was full now. Coffee dates, painting classes, volunteer work, helping other seniors identify and escape financial exploitation. She'd helped 11 people in the past year. She'd traveled to Scotland, fulfilling the dream she and Robert had shared. She'd redecorated his office into an art studio. What could she wish for that she didn't already have? Later, after everyone had left, Elaine found an envelope in her mailbox. Joseph's handwriting. Inside, a simple birthday card. The message brief. "Happy birthday, Mom. I'm proud of the work you're doing with the Elder Justice Coalition. I'm proud to be your son, even if I haven't earned the right to say that yet. I'm working on becoming someone you could be proud of too. Love, Joseph. No request for money, no manipulation, just acknowledgement." Elaine set the card on her mantel next to Robert's photo and the picture from her Scotland trip. Not forgiveness yet. Trust took time to rebuild. But acknowledgement. Recognition that change was possible, even if reconciliation remained uncertain. She made herself tea and sat in her garden as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Tomorrow she'd meet with 3 new clients at the Coalition. Next week, an advanced watercolor workshop. Next month, Patricia had planned a trip to Santa Fe. Her life, once held hostage by obligation and manipulation, was finally her own. And it was beautiful. Sometimes the greatest act of love isn't holding on. It's knowing when to let go. Knowing when to choose yourself, protect yourself, save yourself. Even from family, especially from family. Elaine had spent 67 years believing family was everything. She'd learned that family was important, but self-respect was everything. And sometimes the best ending isn't a happy reunion. Sometimes it's simply learning to live well while refusing to be victimized again. The phone buzzed. A text from Joseph. 1 year sober today, 1 year in therapy. Getting there, slowly. Elaine looked at the message for a long time. Then she typed back. "Proud of you. Keep going." 3 words. But they were true. Maybe someday they'd sit across a table and really talk. Not as victim and exploiter, not as bank and beneficiary, but as mother and son. Maybe someday Joseph would rebuild himself into someone worthy of her trust. But that day wasn't today. Today, Elaine Baker sat in the garden of the house she'd fought to keep, surrounded by the life she'd fought to reclaim. And she was enough. Just herself. Just this moment. Just this hard-won peace. And that was everything.